William Henry Gates III, born October 28, 1955 in Seattle, is an American programmer, entrepreneur, businessman, investor, philanthropist, and chief executive officer. In 1975, he co-founded Microsoft Corporation with Paul Allen. As of December 2022, with an estimated net worth of $107 billion, he was recognized as the fifth wealthiest person in the world. From the founding of Microsoft until 2000, Gates served as the company's CEO for 25 years, and he chaired Microsoft's board of directors for a total of 39 years, until 2014. He stepped down from the board in March 2020. However, Gates remains a major shareholder of Microsoft, holding 1.3% of the company's shares. And that's life. Bill Gates was born on October 28, 1955 in Seattle, and grew up in that city, located in Washington state, along with his two sisters. He was born into a family with a rich background in business, politics, and social service. His father, William Henry Gates II, was a lawyer and a prominent figure in Seattle, and his mother was a school teacher and a member of the board of directors of United Way International, also active in philanthropy. Gates attended Lakeside School, where he discovered his passion for software and began programming at the age of 13. In fact, the early core of Microsoft was formed here. In the spring of 1968, the school decided to introduce students to the emerging phenomenon of computers. Since computers were still very large and expensive, the school could not afford to buy them. Therefore, the school created a fund to collect donations for renting a PDP-10 computer manufactured by DEC for a year. The amount collected was more than the one-year rental cost, but the school had underestimated the appeal of this electronic giant to the students. Bill Gates, Paul Allen, who was 2 years older than Gates, and several other of his friends all became senior programmers at Microsoft. Image of Bill Gates recorded in 1977 for a traffic violation. In 1973, Gates entered Harvard University, where he met Steve Ballmer. At Harvard, Gates wrote a version of the basic programming language for the first microcomputer. In his second year, he dropped out of university to devote all his energy to Microsoft. The company, which he founded in 1975 with his childhood friend Paul Allen, was based on the belief that computers would become a valuable tool on every desk and in every home. They started developing software for personal computers. Gates' vision for personal computing became the cornerstone of Microsoft's success. Under Bill Gates' management, his mission to expand and simplify software, as well as reduce its cost and make it more user-friendly, continued to advance. Microsoft managers were always thinking about long-term goals, and therefore, in 2005, they invested nearly $6.2 billion in research and development. In 1999, Gates wrote the book Business: The Speed of Thought. This book shows how computers can solve users' problems in business. The book has been translated into 25 languages, is available in more than 60 countries, and was listed as a bestseller in the New York Times USA, Today, the Wall Street Journal, and on Amazon. Gates' previous book, The Road Ahead, published in 1995, topped the New York Times bestseller list for 7 consecutive weeks. In 2000, after 25 years, Gates stepped down as CEO of Microsoft and handed the role to Steve Ballmer, but he continued to work as chief executive officer and chairman of the company's board of directors. He chaired Microsoft's board from 1975 to 2014, and after 39 years, with Gates' resignation, John W. Thompson was appointed as his replacement. Personal life. Marriage. Bill Gates married Melinda French, a Microsoft employee, on January 1, 1994. Bill Gates and Melinda met in 1987 after Melinda joined Microsoft as a product manager. Melinda is from Dallas, Texas. To evaluate the pros and cons of marrying Melinda, Bill Gates listed the good and bad points of their relationship on a whiteboard and discussed them together. They married on the island of Lanai in Hawaii, and to prevent uninvited guests from attending their wedding, they rented all the helicopters in the area. The couple have 3 children: Jennifer Catherine Gates, 1996, Rory John Gates, 1999, and Phoebe Adele Gates, 2002. They divorced in May 2021 after 27 years of marriage. Home. Bill Gates's home is one of the most modern and expensive houses in the world, located on a hillside, overlooking Lake Washington in Medina, Washington. Based on estimates, the total value of the Gates house and its land is about $125 million, and the annual property taxes nearly $125 million, and the annual property taxes nearly $1 million. Also, among Bill Gates's assets is a collection of writings by Leonardo da Vinci, which he purchased at auction in 2004 for $30.8 million. An email address. Bill Gates's email address has been widely circulated around the world, and he received about 4 million emails in 2004, most of which were spam. According to Gates himself, among the emails he received, there were a large number of get-rich-quick offers, which, if not annoying, were at least funny. Religious beliefs. Bill Gates has an agnostic view on the existence of God, but he admires the moral guidelines of Christianity and credits his charitable foundation's activities to his church attendance. He considers these beliefs to be more of a moral conviction than a religious one. During 1995 and 1996, questions were raised about Bill Gates's religious beliefs, and he expressed agnosticism regarding the existence of God. However, regarding religious guidelines in an interview with PBS in 1995, he said that he does not regularly attend church but fully endorses the moral guidelines of Christianity. In an interview published on the cover of Time magazine on January 13, 1996, he was asked, "Do you believe in something called a creator?" In response, his face became ambiguous. He crossed his arms, paused for a moment, and replied, "I have no evidence for that." He continued, "In terms of allocating time resources, religion is not very effective. There are more things I can do on Sunday mornings." Finally, in a 2014 interview with Rolling Stone, when asked, "Do you believe in God?" Bill Gates said, "I agree with people like Richard Dawkins that humanity has a need to create myths. Before we started to understand disease, weather, and things like that, we were looking for the wrong explanations for them. Now, in some areas, not all areas, that religion was used to fill, science has answered and filled in those gaps. But the mythology and beauty of the world are still incredibly amazing, and there's still no scientific explanation for how it got to this point. To say the world was made by random, disordered numbers, almost seems like an ungenerous view, with laughter. I think it's logical to believe in God, but exactly what you choose to do differently in your life because of that belief, I don't know." When asked, "You are a technology expert, but most of your work with the foundation now has an ethical aspect. Do you think that the value of religion has changed over the years?" He replied, "The moral code of religion, I think, is very important. We raised our kids in a religious way. They have gone to the Catholic Church that Melinda goes to, and I participate in. I've been very lucky, and so my efforts to reduce inequality in the world, I owe that," referring to the church. "And that's kind of a religious belief. I mean, it's at least a moral belief." Bill Melinda Gates Foundation. Image of Bill Gates and his wife, Melinda Gates, in June 2009. Main article, Bill Melinda Gates Foundation. Gates has donated all the profits from his 2 books to nonprofit organizations that support the use of technology in education and skills development. Philanthropy is of high importance to Gates. He and his wife, Melinda, established a charitable foundation with a capital of $8.8 billion to support the humanitarian Aiding Lab al-Hassay health and education, with the hope that in the 21st century, all people in the world would have access to education and health. The foundation has donated to 8 billion support humanitarian, aiding global health and education, with the hope that in the 21st century all people in the world would have access to education and health. The foundation has donated $3.6 billion to global health and $2 billion to the development of education in low-income areas. It has also helped in the U.S. and Canada by donating computers and free internet access to public libraries. In an interview with the Good Morning program on ITV television in October 2016, Gates announced that he does not want to leave his wealth to his 3 children, and his wealth will be bequeathed to charity after his death. Microsoft. Main article: Microsoft. At the end of the 2005 fiscal year, Microsoft had a revenue of $39.79 billion and nearly 61,000 employees in more than 102 countries around the world. On June 15, 2006, Microsoft announced that in July 2008, Bill Gates would step down from his day-to-day work at the company to spend more time on global health and education at the Bill Melinda Gates Foundation. After July 2008, Bill would return to the company as a Microsoft director and advisor on key development projects at Microsoft. The 2-year transition period ensured a smooth and planned transfer of Bill Gates's daily duties. In June 2006, Ray Ozzie was chosen as Gates's successor as chief software architect, and he worked alongside Gates on technical architecture and the responsibility of phasing out products. Craig Mundy was chosen as director of research and head of planning at Microsoft and worked alongside Bill Gates. Assets. According to a ranking by Forbes magazine in August 2018, Bill Gates, with a net worth of $95.10 billion, was the second wealthiest person in the world after Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon. He first topped the list of the world's wealthiest people in 1994 and remained at the top of the list for 15 consecutive years. Then, in 2010, the Mexican businessman Carlos Slim took his place. In 2014, after 4 years during which Gates had the second position, while he had recently stepped down from the chair of the board of directors of Microsoft, he was once again chosen by Forbes as the world's wealthiest person. Overall, the wealth of the Gates family is in the second position after the Walton family, the heirs of Walmart, and the children of its founder, Sam Walton. In 2010, Bill Gates announced that he wanted to get off the list of the world's wealthy and give his wealth back to society. He repeated these statements again in July 2022, saying that he would donate $20 billion to his charitable fund to act on his words. But from 2010 to 2022, his net worth more than doubled. Coronavirus. In 2020, a documentary based on a conspiracy theory called The Takeover was made. This documentary starts by relying on acceptable examples and facts, and in the end tells the viewer that the coronavirus is part of a globalist plan to massacre and transition to superhumans. The Takeover, by attributing the creation of the coronavirus to the Pasteur Institute in France, its transport to the city of Wuhan, China, the issue of global overpopulation, the structural crises of contemporary governments, virtual money, etc., puts together a puzzle whose conclusion is to believe in the conspiracy theory that the hidden powers of the world, the hands behind the scenes, multinational pharmaceutical companies in cooperation with Silicon Valley, Bill Gates, the Rockefeller Foundation, and with Yuval Noah Harari's theories, are trying to destroy a large part of the world's underprivileged population and establish their undemocratic rule. Quotes. A collection of quotes related to Bill Gates is available on WikiQuote. That we always overestimate what will happen in the next 2 years, but underestimate what will happen in the next 10 years. Don't let stagnation come your way. Gates said on April 5, 2021, if physical distancing measures are done properly, The number of coronavirus deaths in the United States could be much lower than recent estimates from senior GE health officials. He said, "If we stabilize testing and engage all 50 states, we'll be below the health officials' estimates. We will certainly pay a huge economic cost." He stated, "It is logical to say that things will not return to normal until we have a vaccine."